shown a bit of character in the group to bounce back up to the test and win 6 or 7 matches after that.
Yeah, look, it was a fantastic effort by the guys, and after being 1-1, playing here and then moving forward, I think the guys showed a lot of determination and fight to overcome, I think, the conditions. I think they were very, very challenging, something that we're not really used to. I think the test guys sort of had a bit of an adjustment there from what we were used to on the test match conditions coming to the one-day conditions, and we really had to adapt to try and get the game moving forward with the bat. I think the conditions we faced out there were pretty challenging from a one-day wicket point of view. I think maybe this venue was probably the standout one that was the toughest. I think the wicket probably wasn't up to scratch in the games. I felt last game in Pallachelli, the wicket was outstanding. I think, I know we scored 260, but I think both teams felt like the wicket was very encouraging. We could actually hit over the top. It was a nice, consistent bounce. And, throughout this whole one-day series and 2020 series, the bounce back from the tests, I think was a phenomenal achievement.
Especially pleasing given the 20 over results and these sort of conditions have been great late to come out with 2 wins against really strong opposition.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you probably just saw there the lack of consistency when we lose a wicket after a good start, what can happen. It's something we try and keep on improving on, and it's disappointing that I think we lost 5 or 6 for 20 off 8 overs through the middle after being, I think it was 1 for 90, I think it was. It's quite disappointing, but obviously it's fantastic to get the win and win the series. No, it's not playing on our minds. It's done and dusted. It is what it is. We lost the series. We have to move forward, and to bounce back from that, it was, as I said, it was a phenomenal effort by the boys to come out and adjust to these conditions that we don't normally face and that we're not used to. And you saw scrappy cricket during the one-day series where I think the highest score was 280 here, and then it was scrapping to get 200. So it was good grinding cricket, something that we're not used to, and I think that's the encouraging signs for this team that we actually worked really, really hard to win both series.
Do you think there was a sort of a mental block of attacking the spin after this ODI?
I think it's the adjustment that happens. The guys adapted quite well. We knew once the shine got off the ball was going to spin consistently. And in one-day cricket, it's a bit different. You can't really have attacking fields with 2 in close, a slip and a leg slip. It's just not possible. So, the reverse sweeps and actually sitting in your crease and pinching the 1s and 2s and rotating strike is much easier in this game than I think sort of in the test cricket when you're sort of behind the 8 ball when there's runs on board and scoreboard pressure. So in these conditions, as I said, it was very, very tough for us as a batting team, but I think the way that the bowlers conducted themselves and reduced totals after losing the toss consistently was a fantastic effort.
Any regrets of not having Maxwell in the ODI series?
Look, that's obviously up on the selectors to probably answer that question. I think he was, disappointed he was left out. I think he knows the reasons why. He probably didn't have the runs under his belt. But look, the way he came out, credit to him, and played in 2020 format. We know he's very, very good at this game, and that's the reason why he's here. But that's obviously a question for the selectors to always think about.
Yeah, I was just going to say for Maxi, I mean, it's amazing the way he's brought in the last couple of games, given your experience in national T20.
Yeah, look, we've spoken time and time again. When you get the opportunity, you always try and grab that as much as you can, and he's been given that opportunity in the first 6. I will say one thing, he's a very good player of spin inside obviously the first 6, and he can chance his arm, and we've seen him reverse sweep, and that's his strength, and what he did today and the other day was no fluke. That's exactly what he can do if he's given an opportunity. But as we know that the team and the lineup and the dynamic of our team, we've obviously got a structure there, and I think once Finchy comes in, he'll have to probably push down the order again and assess what his game plan is again. And it's no different to what he's done there in the first 6. And we all know as a batsman, if you get that momentum and you get the boundary way, you sort of fill in as a batsman. So we've seen him do it up the top, we've seen him do it down in the middle. There's no excuse.
Talk about the send-offs to the last couple of games. How's the spirit been across the series?
Yeah, look, I think it's been very good. I think, sometimes it can happen in the game of cricket. When you spend a lot of time in these conditions, and when things aren't going your way, I'm talking about the test stuff with us. Some little things can creep in, some bad habits, and you get a little bit, fired up when you're out there, and those little things can happen. But yeah, look, that's part and parcel of the game. Players that in that spur of the moment, sometimes we just don't think, and it's not acceptable, and we don't condone it, but sometimes it's just going to happen, to give that person a bit of a reassurance of the fact that you can't do that by slapping them on, either on the wrist or reprimand or fine. They're the consequences you're going to face if you do that.
How hard is it to bite your tongue when you got England back over there?
Yeah, I've probably muffled a few words under my breath there. They're the type of things that sort of fire you up in a way, and Starkey's done it before, other people have done it before. He didn't mean to throw it at me, but look, that's part and parcel of the game. I can't move out of the way. It's just hit me, and that's just what happened. Nothing I can do about it.